Alright YouTube, sorry, ran out of memory. It's my favorite part of doing these videos. So where we left off, we need to get this channel cut. What I was about to tell you is there's a spar that goes down this wing. And you're thinking, well, how are you going to get around that spar? Because that spar ain't very deep. Well, what we're going to do to get around the spar is I'm going to lay the camera down and I'll show you. And it's kind of a pain. But it'll work. It won't be that big a deal. Alright, I'm going to pause it. When I get back with my blade, you'll see. You remember this 1/8 of an inch humongous drill bit? That's what we're going to use. We're just going to go up at a slight angle. We want to go from this hash in. And the other thing is, I can't tell exactly where that spar ends, but my guess is it probably ends somewhere in this general area. Little trick you can do is if you have a bright enough flashlight, you can turn the flashlight on and you can shine it through and see where the spar ends. Problem is, this particular spar is white. Because it's white, you're not going to be able to see very good. And we're definitely on the hash. So I'm just going to line it up there. Drill bit right on the hash. I'm going to walk it slowly until it gets a bite. Because the idea here is to just get it where we want it. And then once we're in, then we can just start pushing and pulling. You can use a drill if you want, but I'm not quite ballsy enough to do that. Okay. So we're started. We're just going to let it go in. And that's actually all the way now. So I'm going to take this, abandon this tool, go to a different tool. In this case, it's going to be just a conventional drill bit like this. And I'm going to take a torch like this. And I'm just going to take and start the torch. And I'm going to heat up the tip. And then I'm going to stop the heat. I'm going to put it in the hole. I'm going to guide it in. And that's just going to clean up the hole for us. Then I'm going to get my second and third little tools, which are going to look a little something like this. Galvanized wire. Galvanized is not good. It just happens to be what I have. It's just bent. And I'm going to take and use that to actually go in and try to get that little angle. And that little angle is what we're going to use. Sorry guys, I'm not going to be doing that when I do this. Okay, that's going to get us our channel up and back in. So, next step, use the torch. You guys can take my word for that, I'm sure. Okay, so it's hot. Now this is hot. So now I can just take that and just work it in and then up a little teeny bit. Doesn't need to be like really aggressively hot, but the better it is, the hotter it is, the better it's going to work. You just got to be careful because it's going to work on all the other stuff you bump into that you don't mean to. And I can feel that fiberglass, and you see I went through a little bit there. Probably not the end of the world, guys. Okay, I'm going to go back to my drill bit. This one's not hot by now, it's cooled off. Just stick it in the hole, see if we can guide back to approximately where I made it through. And I'm just going to lift it up. And I can sort of tell I'm in that channel now, just from feel. And that's all she wrote. Now we should be able to take this wire. Remember our little wire we made earlier? This is the white wire, or the white lead. And at some point we need to take this and bend it. So I'm going to take my pliers. Take my pliers like this. Hold on to it very carefully. And I'm going to bend that lead, both of them. Because remember, they tinned right up into there. And that's just going to, don't dink around with it. If you do it both ways, it's probably going to break off. And then you have to redo the whole thing. So, and I'm just going to have that kind of in the general direction I want it to go. And I'm just going to feed it back in there. And if you're lucky, it just goes. But I'm not usually lucky, so I have to actually work at it. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little piece of this welding wire to go through. Welding wire is nice because it's very thin. And what I can do is I can actually take and try to chase that back the other direction, like this. And it's really tricky. I mean, you would think this would be like the easiest thing ever, but I'll actually have an easier time getting down the other length. I'm sure I will, just because it's a straight shot. This has a little bend at the end, so it's hard to get around that little bend. So if you're doing this for the first time and you think, boy, it's a lot harder than I thought, well, now you know my pain. All right, so it's through. And now the other trick that you're going to run into is you got to tape that on. You're thinking, boy, that's a pretty simple step. Not. Because you got to do the tape thin enough that it holds on, but not thick enough that it lets go of the wire. It's very, very difficult to get that right size. So just so you can see how I do this, you don't have to necessarily do it this way, but I just happen to take, you want to get a little bit of surface area there. And if you stick it to your taping it onto the rod that's pulling it through, you can start it around like that. And just keep going, pull it as tight as you can onto that product, okay? And then you're just going to pull that through. And it's hopefully going to go because you're most of the way guided anyway. Ah, son of a gun, it didn't quite make it. So, and this happened to me last night too when I was doing the other side. So there's two ways. You can either just get upset and start throwing things, or you can try again until you get it, which I've done it both ways. The first way doesn't work quite as good. All right, I'm gonna pause it. You can take my word for it. Okay, going back to this, guys. This is try number 2. Basically, I got to the obstruction and I'm just gonna push and pull, which you can do on a short run like this, and it usually gives you enough to get it through. Right, now I'm just going to bend it, and then I can walk it up a little bit. I'm hoping this goes through. It's going to be kind of embarrassing if this takes 3 tries, but it might happen that way. Hey, there it is! Yay! Yep, it's a pain in the butt. Put LEDs in. Just pull it through. Take out your tools, and you want to kind of work this LED to about where you think you're going to need it. It doesn't need to be perfect yet. You can get a little fine-tuning later. So that's the way that goes, guys. Real simple process. Not exactly. Next one, I'm gonna go ahead and get the red one built here, guys, and we'll come back to it when we do this part here. Okay, guys, we're back with the now soldered red lead, our red LED, and we've got our orange receiver up there. So we're gonna go ahead and put a 22 ohm resistor into the negative lead of this servo plug. Just ride it up along the copper inside there. And we're going to grab the opposite end of our little cheater wire. We're going to put the positive in, and then we're going to touch the negative to this side of the LED, or to the resistor. So that's going to go in there. The red one's going to go in there, and it's going to contact the copper of the connector itself. And then when this touches, yep, okay, so we got some, that's kind of weird. Not super bright, pretty unimpressive. It's almost like we're not getting, it's like there's something maybe not quite right on our contact. Let me see if I can get that to feed in just a little bit further. Could also be that this isn't actually a 22 ohm resistor and it's wrong size. Huh, that's weird. Don't smell anything burning yet. That's certainly not bright enough. So we're gonna have to see if we can try a smaller resistor. And the other thing too is we may have partially burned this out too. It's not getting hot. Actually, yes it is. It's getting quite hot. Maybe that's too much. All right, guys, I'm gonna pause it. We'll grab another resistor. Okay, now we got a 33 ohm resistor. It just got yanked out, sorry. The 33 ohm resistor should make this light less intense, which actually, ironically enough, it appears to be pretty decent. So I'm actually going to go to a 47 ohm resistor next, and we'll see how that looks. Okay guys, we're going to skip and go right to 100 ohms. I don't have near as many 47 ohm resistors, so hey, that's getting better. A little bit strange, guys. Not really sure why that is, but whatever. Like I said, I just test these things until I get the right size to do the job. So this 100 ohm is proportionally brighter and it's a little bit cooler, so I think I'm gonna keep going. I'll go up to probably 200 this time. Okay guys, 220 ohm resistor this time on the red LED. It doesn't look like we've had any change between that and the 100, so we must have found kind of the happy medium. And that's, guys, that's how I do it. I just test it, because you know what, you can do all the math you want all day, and it if you're into that sort of thing and Ohm's law and all that stuff, then you can do it. But I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to test it. Okay, guys, 150 ohms going here. If this takes care of it, then I think I got enough to do this. Nice and bright. Now we just got to do the test for heat. I'm just holding the light. Whoops. Got to leave it on continuously. Don't cheat. You can see it's making my thumb glow there. Definitely the red seems to always be the warmest running LEDs. I don't understand exactly why that is. I'm sure there's probably some good explanation that somebody can give you. I'm not that guy. But they do tend to run the hottest. And if you're trying to make this about the same as your green, you're probably not going to quite get that. I might actually just go up to 180 and we'll see what we look like. Okay guys, this one's the 180 ohms. I'm hoping this works good because I got a whole strip of 5 of these here. Ooh yeah, that's good. Like the brightness. Let's see if the temperature passes. And I'll tell you what guys, if you get the wrong size, this thing will get hot like right now. So I think I'm probably going to go with this size. Just make sure it's not getting hot. Put it between my lips for a second, not getting warm. I think we're good. All right, next step, I'll go ahead and get these through the wings, and you'll be able to watch that when I'm landing them at the servo connection. Or actually, in this case, it's going to be in the servo wire, so I'll show you how to do it. Okay, next step. Got our little pigtail cut off with a red LED that's been tested with 180 ohms of resistance. And I'm just going to go ahead and attempt to feed it through without any help. And if that doesn't work, I may heat up the drill bit and send it through one more time. This foam will actually, once you run a drill bit through it, will sometimes just kind of puff back out a little bit, depending on how resilient the foam is. So you can see I just give it a little half twist every once in a while there. And yes, that will twist up the wire, so you want to try to untwist it when you get it through, or don't worry about it, one or the other. Looks like I'm hitting a little obstruction in there. I think it might make best sense to just take my drill bit and take the big long drill bit again, just work it through there again. Just kind of clear out the obstructions, guys. That's all I'm doing here. Yep, just throw that anywhere. So I'll put that back, and we'll give it a shot again here, see how it looks. Whoops. You're going to be covering up the ends with CA and hopefully paint. I got some paint, International Orange, I think it's what it's called. Might be International Red, but I'll tell you that here in a little bit when I get to that point. I'm going to pause it and I'll bring it back when I get it through. Okay guys, I'm going to take this little welding wire that I used earlier, and I'm just going to actually force this in And that's going to help us to get it through the length of that, just because it'll give a little bit of strength to it. So we're going to give it a crack here and see if that does it, because this one's being a pain, but that's to be expected. I told you it was a pain to do this, so if you didn't believe me, now you will. Yeah, it seems like it's working. It just, you got to be careful it doesn't dig a new hole, because sometimes they'll kind of turn on you, and then next thing you know, there's a new hole going through the top of your brand new plane's wing. Just not exactly what I'm going for here. The other thing you can do is if you take and bend a 90 out here where you've got access to it, you can spin it then. Something you couldn't do with just the wire itself. Might be just getting close to the end too. Sometimes there's a little extra resistance toward the end. It feels like it's almost there. And if you get into a balsa wood wing or something like that, just use a light, try to shine it through the monocoat, and that'll help get you through where you need to go. Okay, still having some trouble for whatever reason. I'm going to actually bend over this tip so it can't dig into a hole. Alright, so we got a nice little hook in there. And that hook is going to make it a real bear to get back out if we don't have success doing this. But it's also going to help to clear the path as we go. Come on now, get in there. And then some of you are probably thinking, well, why didn't you just do this before you built the plane? Well, yeah, but it's not really that much easier. You pretty much got to go through the foam still. So in case you're wondering, that was my rationale on this particular plane. I'll probably be kicking myself when I do that little tail light, but whatever. I got to fly it. I don't invest the time in the LEDs if the plane doesn't fly good, which is probably a smart maneuver. Uh-oh. Well, I made it through with my wire, but it just didn't pull the actual servo cable through. See, we had this unfortunate method failure here. So I'm just gonna tape it one more time and we'll see if we can get it this time. Anyway, you guys will know what'll happen. I'm gonna pause. Okay guys, back to the inexact science. Seem to be working a lot better this time, so hopefully it's gonna make it all the way. Almost there. That last little push is what's fighting me here, so. Yep, not there. If in doubt, use a bigger hammer. Same thing, just used a bigger wire. So now that I can see the wire pulling through, I'm gonna use forceps, straight nose. I also have bent ones. Bent ones might actually work a little better for this. But basically what I need to do is I need to hang on a wire without pulling it back through now. And then I need to try to get enough of the wire pushed through, ouch, so that I can yank this galvanized wire back. And this sort of thing is kind of the inexact science of this process. So there's certain aspects of it that you can do the same way every time, but that's why when people ask me what kit I use, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a funny joke. Because even if this was a kit, because I just use these two, Master Force, and then Tool Shop, really high quality stuff. That was a joke. So I'm gonna pull that through, and then just paying special mind to how far the wires come through, so you don't yank it into the hole, make it hard to get out. Now you can pull your tape off, throw it away, and you're ready to basically start getting these wires channeled into their own channel to go up and then meet the servo wire here. So that'll be the next step. I'm gonna pull this tape up and we'll get that filmed here. Okay guys, we're back. A little bit different angle there for you. Hopefully that's just as good as it needs to be, so you can see what's going on. And yes, I got a little bit of wax paper here. Just have that ready to go. That'll help you to put this back where it needs to be when you're done. Find a weak edge. Believe me, there'll be one. Every single one of these planes I've got, these things eventually start to try to peel. But just do it as nice as you can, as even as you can, especially over the servo, because it's going to curl like that and it's going to look like crap no matter what you do. And just get this peeled back. Do as little as you can get away with. So you're going to need it back probably about that far. And then smack that wax paper on there. And that'll just kind of keep it in case it would happen to fold back over from getting stuck back down. And what we need to do is we need to make a new channel. Now, if you did this in a perfect world, this wire would go right underneath, but this is not a perfect world, so we can rule that out right now. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to sneak these under. And just keep them separate, because remember, you got different resistors on these. So the resistor on the white one's going to be for us, I believe we did 33 ohms. And then on the red one, the one that goes down the length of the wing, that one is going to take 180 ohm resistor. So usually what I do is I pick up the resistor, and of course you can go by the color code or you can stick it on your digital multimeter to verify. But I'm going to take this, separate the leads, and I'm just going to get a little bit of copper exposed, and twist it up, and then I'm going to tie it around one half of this resistor lead right toward the end, and then I'm going to wrap this lead around it. And then here in a minute, when I'm ready to start soldering, this is already attached, so I don't have to go back and try to reinvent the wheel and figure out, oh crap, which one goes with which. Because this is going to be very difficult to tell, especially these super small resistors. Like, you can see the color code in the video, but just barely. So, and I'm trying to keep that servo in the picture so that you got a reference point, guys. All right, cool. So I'm going to do the same thing with this 33 ohm resistor. The 33 ohm resistor needs to go to the black. And incidentally, that's why I test everything the way I test it. So then there's not really any question. You just kind of execute what you already knew what to do. So, take off a little bit more of that. Sorry guys if the focus is not doing a great job, it appears. Let me try something. It's sunny, so maybe if I can get the light to be consistent, it won't keep doing that. Okay. Tie that up. Wrap it around. Again, this is the 33 ohm resistor. Just kind of do a little twist around. You guys can do this however you want. If you just make sure you get a good solder glob on there when you're done, so you get a nice, good electrical connection. Because if you get